discovery is something that we do as part of every project, but it's a really key stage of that project and happens right at the front and is all about getting to the bottom of why. Why this project? Why now? Why us? Now, we do this as a matter of course, as part of our project, but what we started doing and seeing some success from is actually chopping the discovery phase off the front of the project and making that a mini project in its own right. Let me tell you why. When a project starts, there's an element of knowledge which tends to be very low, both on client side and on agency side. And at the same time, at the other end of the scale, there is risk. So there's risk from agency side in terms of perhaps not been fully sure of the requirements of the project or the technicalities of the project, and obviously on client side, you're thinking of investing quite a chunk of money and you need to know that you're making the right decisions, the right business decisions based on the right business motivations to get the result that you want. So things like this will help us to explore perhaps your readiness for this particular project. Even, do you actually need to do this project? Rather than committing a budget into this particular project, could there be another project that might be better, money better spent? Or even could there be something else that actually better prepares you for the original project that you thought you needed? Do we need to start thinking about contacting some of our customers, getting some feedback, that type of thing? So ultimately that discovery phase can lay out the roadmap for a much more structured approach. The other reason why discovery can be really useful is that you've probably approached a couple of agencies and you've perhaps had a few meetings, got a couple of proposals back, and at one end of the scale you've perhaps had a quote for, let's say, £1,000, but at the other end you've had a quote for, say, £10,000. And that's a big difference. There's a huge difference there, and if you're not familiar with working in websites or you've not worked on website projects previously, understandably you're going to be sat there thinking, well, why the big difference? What is it that takes me from £1,000 to £10,000? I talk about a phase, but it could actually just be a half-day session. It could be perhaps a couple of days session. Obviously it depends on the size of the organisation and your objectives. I can tell you from experience there's nothing worse than starting a project, getting part way through and then realising, oh, we should have this before we go live, or we need this piece of information, or we've got to create this kind of content. It's too late then. Obviously it's not completely too late, you can still do that, but it derails your project, and that's one of the things that discovery can help to avoid. I can't begin to tell you the number of times when we've been sat in meetings once a website project has started and actually not only started, it's usually quite well through the process, and we end up having a discussion that starts off talking about the website, but we can very easily get sidetracked, and sometimes clients then start actually having their own internal meeting within our own project review meeting. So again, that's not to say that a discovery phase prevents that from happening, it doesn't necessarily, but again, it can help in the preparation for the project, and it can make sure that some of these internal discussions that need to take place with various different stakeholders are done, dusted, out of the way, and there can be broad agreement before getting into the nitty-gritty of development.